talk about excavation, stormwater management, and asphalt for the east side of Coggy. We projected it to be about $800,000. It came in about 1.2 million.
That would be in conjunction with the practice field that's going to be going over there, the turf practice field.
Correct.
That work was in preparation in conjunction with that.
We talked about the property up on Coggy Road. We didn't make any progress with that, so that's what we had projected for it. That did impact the stormwater management cost. And why this is much higher than what we projected because we couldn't retain that property. The multi-purpose field, we've had many questions about that. The cost of that, $565,000. That is a turf field with a 2-lane walking track, I believe, around it. And then you have the fencing here for $25,000. The last thing that made up this project when we first began initiating this process is we wanted to add a multi-purpose indoor facility. However, as you can see here, and if you guys are I'm not sure who was on the board at the time, everything's meshing together, but we removed that project from our list. We projected it to be about $350,000. There's about $500,000. We felt that it wasn't worth us continuing to pursue that, as it would take up more funds than what we really anticipated. So the multi-purpose indoor facility and the property were removed from Project 1. But this is a summary of Project 1 from inception.
Mr. O'Toole, I did see a legal notice a few weeks back for a prefabricated bathroom.
Yes.
That's going to be over there. Is that part of this at all or no?
No, we're going to bring that forward next month. We're going to talk to you about that.
Okay. We just went out for bids on that, right? We have no.
I'm not sure I would need Tom here for that.
I don't. Yeah, I think we did.
So if I could summarize this, because I do want to clarify some misinformation that's out there. The Hanlon Sports Complex already exists. It's the east side of Coggy Road that has the softball field, the baseball field, and the tennis courts. It's already there. We're not building a new complex. We're adding a practice field in place of the parking lot that got moved over to the west side. Okay, those are the costs. The turf itself is $565,000. Why turf and not grass? A number of reasons. We want it to be multi-purpose. It's going to get a lot of traffic, and it's also what our competitive academic teams are playing on now. There's not many grass surfaces out there. Grass surfaces do present somewhat of a problem in terms of maintenance and upkeep, and more prone to injury. So that's the reason why the turf is going over there. And I would need Tom probably for a little bit more information if there's any specific questions, but we're not building a new sports complex. We're just putting the practice field into place of the parking lot that's been moved. The one piece is the prefabbed restroom, because we do have a need for a restroom over there. There are restrooms all the way down by the baseball field, but I think they're pretty much located in a way that people can't, it's a ways to walk to get there. So we did get a quote back on the prefab restroom, and we're going to talk to you about possibly adding that to this. It's a pretty reasonable price, and we think it would be a good addition to just finish this up and put a restroom there for the community. We are touting this pretty much as a community complex, so folks that want to go and walk the track can walk the Hanlon Sports Complex track. The 2-lane track will allow us to lock down the Gus Anderson Field, help preserve that. One of the other questions that's out there is are you putting away money to replace the turf in 10, 15 years? The answer is yes. We started a turf replacement fund. We're going to do a better job of keeping track of this one than they did a few years back. But as I've said, in 10 years, our debt will be paid off. And we could write a check for those fields in 10 years. And I think we'll still have life on those fields by getting some of the traffic off of there and getting them over on the practice field. That we're going to have several years, I think, of turf. And Mark, you know more about it than I do. You know about the issues we had with all the teams that were vying for practice times. I don't want to put you on the spot, but...
Well, just real quick, in the fall, for example, we have boys and girls soccer with a JV team and a varsity team. and we have 3 levels of football at the high school, 9th grade, JV, and varsity. Trying to get everybody practice time on the turf is impossible. It just doesn't happen. Our 9th grade football team, I think, practiced on the turf 1 time last year, and every one of their games is on turf. So as he brought up, you're practicing on grass, every game's on turf. And then you throw in the mix where you have games, say a freshman game's at 4 o'clock, then you even have less time for all those 6 other teams to try to get practice time. In the spring, we have boys and girls lacrosse, we have track and field. They can't be on there at the same time, even though they're using different parts of the facility. Because of lacrosse balls flying and everything else, you have to have your own specific time. In addition, we're trying to allow our softball and baseball teams, they're not gonna play games there, but at the beginning of the season, when their fields are in such bad shape, we get them on the turf to practice. So there's a lot of use on our fields. There's just not enough space and time to get everybody on one field, Gus Anderson Field right now. It would help a lot with our practices. We'd have games going on at Gus Anderson, practices going on at the practice field. We can have, JV soccer over here, varsity soccer over here. It would alleviate a lot of issues with our practice and game schedules.
Mr. Hall, I have a question on the turf. You're telling us $565,000 to every time we need to put a new turf down on each one of those fields. Is that?
Well, I don't know what the price will be in 10 or 15
But just
years,
to,
but yes.
the time frame for Gus Anderson to be resurfaced and this new one, what's the, how many years apart?
I think that turf's 2 years
I
old.
think we're 2 years into it, and I think it's 8 to 10 years, depending on the usage.
So in about a 2 or 3 year period of time, we're going to be hit with about $1 million worth of turf
No, it'll be
replacement.
No.
2 years, it'll be at least 6 or 7 years until Gus Anderson, and then it would be, if this happens, 8 to 10 years after this one.
Okay, so we're going to have enough time in between the two.
Yeah, and I thought
It's
it
gonna
was
be
more.
spread out.
I thought the life of those were more 10 to 15.
It might be 10,
Turf.
it might be 10 to 12 now, you're
See,
right.
I would need Tom here for that.
Okay.
But yeah, we're only 2 years into the turf at Gus Anderson.
Right.
So there'd be,
But if we put one in, when would this project be? When would the turf actually go in next year?
It would.
It's going in this, it's going
Hopefully
in
this
the spring.
Hopefully this
Okay.
spring. So it'd be 2 to 3 year difference.
Okay.
Yeah. Between the 2 fields, need to be replaced probably.
Okay, and on your one slide, you showed about, on the gate receipts that were earmarked at about $51,000 per year.
Correct, so you pretty much would pay for one by the time. it's
So we
repaid.
have money to pay for one, but not the other. So we're gonna need to come up with roughly $500,000 every 10, 15 years.
And I'm not sure, with this field, this cost, that's the first time the field's being put in. I'm not sure with all the underlayment and everything else. I think this would be more expensive than the next time around.
Okay.
I don't know the exact numbers, but that's,
It should be relatively what the new one 2 years ago cost, because it wasn't based down there.
Right.
It was, now they improved the.
they had to do some.
The
yeah,
drainage.
Right, they had to do some things
But
with the
this new
drainage.
one, I assume, is going to have all.
Yeah, that one was a lot closer to 8, I think, because they ended up having to do some other stuff.
There was some major.
Yeah, that was
drainage
big time.
issues.
This one should be a lot less. Question, when the supervisors approved this, because we had an issue a few years ago when we went to the supervisors, do they require X amount of toilet stalls or whatever for this to get, do we not really have a choice? Do we have to put in this prefab because we told the supervisors we'd have 10 bathrooms?
We can get away, we already looked into it, we can get away with the prefab with, I think it's maybe 3 or 4 urinals
It's
in
nothing,
that
it's
part.
not a crazy number.
No.
Well, we had a lot of issues, Mike, with, remember we were going to have seats and, and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
'cause-
yep.
And that's where that really came into play, the number of restrooms. But I don't think we have anything, right? No lights. And
No
it's
lights.
just going to be a basic field, use it during the day, and,
Keep in mind that this is all bond funds as well. I just want to
Yes.
reiterate that.
Right, but the turf replacement would not be bonded.
Agree.
And the excavation, the underground work that we're doing will support this new facility.
Absolutely.
As it is now, right?
Absolutely.
We don't have to redig up anything.
We shouldn't have to, no. Just one last thing is, I think it's important to remember is that where the parking lot is now, if you recall, and I keep reminding everybody, we had an 8-foot slope from 38th Street down to the Commons area, and that's what our soccer team was practicing on. An 8-foot slope on grass that was chewed up, and so forth and so on. So This was more of a combined project than it was, oh, we just moved the parking lot for safety, because we keep hearing that.